Welcome back to Hardman Fold. Today we are in a different location of Failsworth. We're here at Hardman Fold, which is just behind me, down this road here on Hardman Lane. This was where all the brickworks used to be. There used to be a brickworks down here, and then this pub we're going to show you is connected to the brickworks down here. So this would be episode 4 of Failsworth Broadway. This is a bit out of sequence, as the Black Horse we were going to do, which would have been episode 4, is going to be done towards the end of the series, because that takes a lot more filming and research to do. So without further ado, we'll jump to where we are filming today and then start telling you about this pub. Before about 1852, Hardman Lane was a short lane leading to Hardman Fold, which is just behind the camera. And just halfway down was a sharp right hand turn, which we are on here. And it was Hill Lane, later turned into Hale Lane, after Hale Hill. And that's why it was called Hill Lane. It was changed to its latter name, Hale, after Hale Hill, which stretched to Hale Moss, and then White Moss. You can't get the picture. Then Hale Lane led to Broad Lane, which is now Moston Lane East and Hollingwood Avenue in Moston. And on the corner was this building here. But before this building, there lived a bricklayer called James Brown, and he built a substantial property intended to be a public house, and in 1864 he acquired a beer licence from that said public house. So with a beer house licence, you wouldn't be able to serve anything other than beer. James is mentioned in the 1851 census when he was recorded as a 19-year-old bricklayer living with his mother, Mary Brown, who was 48 and had a 4-acre farm in the Lodge area of Failsworth. And Failsworth Lodge, I've actually got some clips which I filmed for another video which won't go ahead. Yeah, so this is Lodge Hall, once home to the famous Failsworth Lodge, which is in centre of shop. It's now all going to be housing on here. Quite nice looking housing, to be honest. I never really had a look on here. But yeah, just wanted to take you to have a look at this new lodge. So yeah, I'm building some houses just on this side here. This is the hall. We're on now Lodge Hall Drive, which is named after obviously the lodge. But yeah, look how nice it is all around here. Yeah, look at that. I think that's all going to get converted into apartments, you know. It's getting kept on here. But yeah, this is the new estate. Is over just off Broadway and it's now well part of the Lodge Hall development. And 10 years later, a James Brown is listed as a 33-year-old widowed farmer with 7 children. It could be that 1851, that the 1851 age was wrong, and this is the same man as James Brown at 43 years old. He then employed 3 men, who was also a beer retailer and a housekeeper called Matilda Dalton, living with him. Matilda had 3 young children, Orlando, Caroline and Margaret, but none of these children is mentioned in the census list. But just notice something really interesting. Yeah, it's a Delton Street, that's Dean Street just behind so yeah, so where Zach's Locals is there, and that's Dean Street, and there's Dalton Street and a Mathers Street along here. So could Dalton be named after his family, or Matilda Dalton? I think Dalton Street's further down Hardman Lane. If I want to finish this up, I'll have a look and throw it in and see what's what. Yeah, so this is Delton Street of Hardman Lane, which I think could be named after the Dalton family we're talking about. So by 1881, James had married Matilda, and his age was given as 50 and hers 46. Orlando was now a young man of 21, Margaret was 11 and Caroline was 19 years old. A servant and barmaid. There were 4 additions to the family. William 9, Mary 8, Edward 5, Lena 10 months. Lena is also mentioned on another record of the Failsworth. So could this be the same Lena or could be a different Lena? In 1891, the Bricklayers Arms accommodated James, a 63-year-old bricklayer, Matilda 52, Margaret a server, Mary a servant and the barmaid, William a bricklayer labourer, Edward and Lena also in residence with some of their in-laws called Boyd. James Brown died in 1899 and Matilda remarried in 1900. The Trade Dictionary, she is listed as Matilda Whitehead, a beer retailer at the Bricklayers Arms. She is last listed in 1906 when the property was probably acquired by Robenshaw Brewery Company, and their first tenant was John H. Cordling, whose parents have kept the Packards. One of the first tasks was to apply to have some alterations made in 1907, as breweries wanted to install an extra WC, basically box, and to create an outdoor department from which there would be a door to the general room. When the barrister, Mr. Brocklehurst, explained that the increased bar size would mean a loss of 255 square foot in the general room, the magistrate lost no time in granting planning permission. The ambitious Mr. Cordling applied for a full licence at the following year's booster sessions, Wednesday 5th of February with the help of Mr Proctor's solicitor. Mr Proctor addressed the full bench of 29 magistrates, presided over by J.M.H. KC, and explained that Mr Cordley was the tenant of the Orpenshaw Brewery and he paid a full rate of £50 per year, and in the past 35 years only 3 licensees had their names over the door. He could have said 44 years really. And even the sternest opponents to the licensees could not criticise Mr Cordling's character. There was no public houses within 200 yards. The nearest was the Black Horse, and the 250 houses and 3 mills have been built in the vicinity in the past few years. Mr Batty was the solicitor for the opponents of the licence, and he said he had a memorial, a form of petition and witness who wished to speak against the application. He asked Mr Cordling if the house had recently been enlarged. No, it's just the same size as when it was just built. How long had you known the house since it was built? If a licence was granted, Mr Cordling's rent would go up from £60 to £80 a year. Richard Bourbon of Mostyn House was in favour of the application. He said he lived in Failsworth all his life, and the spirit licence at the Bricklayers was a public need. He said he has been a publican for 30 years, and before he gave it up, he had been asked to give brandy many times. Mr Batty then asked which public house he had kept the Bull's Head. Mr Batty, yes, he sold it to them Fairfells Brewery for 11,000. 11,30. The magistrates considered the application and it was turned down. It was another 47 years before the Bricklayers became fully licensed. Mary Ann Cordling succeeded her husband in 1911. Then in the following years she became Mary Ann Wood and continued to run the business until 1931. In that year, best remembered as a long-serving licensee took over Mary's son, Fred Cordling. In April 1939, Fred saw a survey done which noticed that the Bricklayers was tenanted tied beer house with 1 living room, 4 drinking rooms and 2 club rooms, 4 bedrooms, 1 bathroom. Sanitary convenience consisted of 1 WC, 6 doors for urinals and men outside, but in fair condition, 1 WC for women and a WC upstairs for private use. The approximate trade was 8 barrels of beer, 40 dozen bottles. The surveyor commented that the interior was being decorated, but the bar was very dark and didn't allow the landlord to supervise the rooms properly, and more glass space was necessary. Also needed were 2 more WCs for women, ante-rooms with washballs next to the lavatories, and cloakrooms and lavatories for the club rooms. On the plus side, police supervision was good. It is doubtful whether all the recommended improvements were carried out as the Second World War and its restrictions intervened. Changes were certainly made in 1953 when the new owners uncovered toilets were built on the sites of old ones. Lately it's gotten two WCs, but the menu urinals were reduced to 5 stalls. 2 years later, the strength of the improvements, the Bricklayer received a full licence. Other changes at the pub included a new bar counters, replacing all serving hatches in the lounge. The lobby, the mixed lounge on the right, was opened by removing the wall and inserting 2 RJAs. The outdoor department, which through Hale Street door, was given a new counter. Openshaw Brewery taken over by Hope and Hankey Breweries in 1957, and after more brewery mergers, the Bricklayer became the Bass North West House in 1967. Fred Cordling retired in 1980, and Barbara Whitehead took over and continued to run the business until 1987. In that year, William Jordan, who had been running the Brook Tavern in Oldham, decided to have a change and moved to the Bricklayers and built up trade successfully. In 1992, Bass was in the process of shedding part of its tied estate to comply with the government legislations. And the Bricklayers were sold to Cathy's Inns plc, a Chorley-based company who now owns about 200 pubs. Bill Gorgon still running the pub was still running the pub, not too sure on that fact, for Fred Colling at the time of Whitehead. He is still going, or was still going strong at the age of 89, and this book was published around 1995. So yeah, so that's the story of the Bricklayers. I think that since then it's gone under 3 more refurbishments. It's lost its copings at the top, which said Bricklayers, which I put in a picture so you can see. So yeah, that's all we really need to know about the Bricklayers. It all stems from the Bricklayer who lives here. So we'll catch you on the next episode, wherever that may be, whatever pub's next in the A to Z order. Thank you for watching. Have a safe journey, whatever you do. I'll catch you on the next pub.